Hello and welcome back once again to the Single Malt Review, brought to you by this dark shadow in the corner of the shot here, which will develop eyes if he ever looks at you, Campbell. Campbell the Whiskey Cat, who hopefully is not going to be an enormous bother. We have got for you today a rum from Cuba, yes. Or at least I am assuming it because it's called Havana Club.
It is indeed Cuban.
And in fact they have their Republica de Cuba Salud de Garantia. I think it's a sticker that says this is definitely Cuban rum, and probably adheres to whatever the Cuban stipulations are for the manufacture of rum, which I am not particularly well versed in. But I can tell you, they don't stop you putting sugar in your rum. So I'm afraid it's going to be another one of those, but not necessarily in too tragic a way. This one is Havana Club's Anejo Especial.
Yeah.
So
does it certainly age? Don't know precisely how much.
No, they're not going to give us a year. It will be a Solera aged rum in the sort of Spanish tradition rather than the English tradition of normally straight up aging.
Young oak barrels for a number of years.
Well, there you go.
Don't know what number. One is a number.
They do release numbered bottles. You can get a 7-year, and they will sort of go from there. But I thought we'd sort of jump in at the sort of the earliest suggestion of age, which is the normal añejo, which is of course Spanish for. Is it old or is it aged? I think it's aged.
Aged, I believe. Yeah. In tequila terms, that would denote 1 year plus.
Yes, it would.
But we're not doing tequila here, so it's technically a grain of salt, as it were.
So this is a coloured product. It is a 40% product. It is a chill filtered product, and it has had, I'm not sure how much, but I'm fairly certain, a little bit of sugar added. So it's very much a rum in the modern mass market style. But that all said, I don't think it's not a bad example of that sort of modern rum. Just don't think we're approaching a craft rum here. This is not one of our lovely Kill Devil bottles with wonderful sort of unmodified rum from a distinct place with a distinct age on the bottle. Alas, we can't get as many of those rums as we would like to. So, at any rate, it's pretty unmistakably rum. You've got lots of good, nice cane characteristics there. It's not particularly...
Yeah, it's richly sweet, very vanilla-y. I'm thinking that's possible. That could be due to the added sugar, assuming there is some.
Yeah, the sugar is certainly the most dominant note here, but there is other things going on.
Yeah, there's a hint of heat, a little bit of spice.
There is spice, and this is not a spiced rum. No. As far as I know, there have been no additives in here beyond the sugar. Yeah.
What I'm curious about is aged Cuban rum. Their barrel source. Generally, worldwide, bourbon barrels are your go-to. But given the tradition of relations between Cuba and the USA, importing wooden barrels was probably not a big option.
That's a good question, really. Yeah. What did Cuba use for its barrel stock?
Was it locally made, perhaps, like so many of Cuban goods, or imported from further afield?
I suspect they probably had a larger than usual amount of brandy and wine casks used, purely because of that. They would have done a lot of trade with the more French-leaning aspects there, and would have ended up with a lot of European wood because of that. Whether that really manifested in the rum to a significant extent would be a really interesting study, but one that is now probably lost to us because trade now being much more open. I'm sure they are just piling on the ex-bourbon barrels like everybody else, because why wouldn't you? You could practically kick them over from Miami and they'd float most of the way over. So certain that's a time lost practice now, but it would be a really interesting study to see if that had a manifest impact on the rum. But as for the impact that this rum is having on my olfactories, there is a few interesting things going on here. There's quite a good bit of tropical fruit. There is some pawpaw in here. Not so much mango, but definitely pawpaw, and there's a wee bit of pineapple, like a sweet canned pineapple, kind of hanging around right in the back there.
I'm not getting much of that, but I need a smidge of the old dried apricot, which is one of my go-tos for a strong, slightly sharp, and very sweet fruity character.
Palate, less interesting because that's when the sweetness really kicks in. It really, really stomps on the palate.
It is heckin' sweet, but there's a good hit of ginger there. It is quite fiery for a 40% spirit. There's a lot more heat going on than I expected.
I think Añejo may be Añejo to any great extent. Probably not. I don't think this is a rum that exceeds in any way 6 years old. It's probably a mix of sort of three to 6. Which, I mean, that's not atypical in any way for rum, but goodness, it was Friday night. I had a Ray and Nephew unaged rum. They're the other people that make that tremendous, the tremendous rum that's extremely high proof that we tried probably years ago now, that's probably my favourite rum. I absolutely adore that rum. But this was a completely unaged, completely white, silver, whatever you like to call it, rum, and if it had been a different colour, it would have been just as flavourful as so many rums marketed as aged. It's a real reminder of just how much of rum's flavour comes from the spirit, not the wood.
And some spirits do really well as young or even unaged. Like I've said in the past, I prefer tequila blanco over aged tequilas.
I do as well. I think it's a bit silly trying to get wood flavour into something so unique as tequila, but that's a diatribe we don't need to go on today.
Different spiritist rabbit hole.
Yeah. So in terms of this one, we won't go on for ages and ages because it's not really a rum that's you meant to cogitate over for that long. It's affordable, I should say. It's a very affordable rum. One of the reasons I bought it, but that's really kind of where it gets off. It falls into this melange, this ocean of these sort of modern sweetish rums that. There's an interesting rum in here struggling to get out, but because of the sort of bomb of sugar that's on top of it, it's difficult to
not
really
too
connect.
beleaguered by the extra sweetness. I can imagine this would be a very pleasant sipping beverage with an ice cube or two on a warm summer's evening, perhaps even with a cigar. If you're
it is,
blind.
and it is. I can confirm. I mean, the almost empty bottle can confirm this is a very enjoyable rum. It's just not.
And it would mix fine into a cocktail as well.
It's just not a particularly cerebral one. Scores for this. It is a 74 for me. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a medium sweet, slightly aged rum. It's got good characters. It's enjoyable. A little bit of a twist. Occasional surprise. 69 points from me.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair, really. And I think that's probably the scores this rum was. Well, I mean, presumably everything's aiming for 100, but I think Havana Club put this one out there for that kind of niche. The sort of lower middle shelf aged example of a rum, and
it's meant to be enjoyed widely. The way it's pitched, it will be widely enjoyable too. It's not catering to a niche. It's not for elitist rum hipster snobs.
So anyway, that was your rum for the week. I hope you enjoyed that. If you've got people recommend us rums all the time, and I would love to taste all of them. They are just so hard to find all the way down here in New Zealand. So please keep recommending them because someone in fact recommended one, the Don Q or Don Q. I'm not sure how you're supposed to say that. That was Puerto Rican rum, which is a territory we have not tasted. So, and I do know I can get a hold of those. So thank you for that recommendation. I will put that one on my order list when I'm next sort of got the hankering for a rum, which by the state of this bottle will be pretty soon. So check back in for that one. In the meantime, I think it's time we looked at something a bit more serious over here. None of this wishy-washy 40% spirits, so-called. It's time for something with a bit of grunt, I think. So stick around. We'll be right back. Slange, or whatever they say in Cuba. I won't speculate. And we will be right back.